What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another episode of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. I am your host, as always, Tony Mango, and joining me, as always, are the usual crew, Robert D. Felice.
Hello.
And Callum Wiggins.
I'm tired.
I'm tired as well. We have a million podcasts for you guys, including the Mailbag. That's what we're going to be doing today. It's June 30th, so we're technically still under the wire when it comes to this, but we're going to answer some of the questions that you guys submitted for the Q&A portion of the old inbox. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of the inbox. We don't have anything that's other than a Q&A thing. It's a podcast every single day. So we're not doing all of them, obviously, because we're just way too overbooked. But there are going to be some more that are on the website that aren't on the thing. And there's some that we're just going to kind of skip by that I didn't get a chance to kind of take out of the mix. But we're going to do as much as we can. And hopefully that's going to be something that you guys are fond of. So keep that in mind. And remember as well, if you have not sent in mailbag questions in the past, or you want to take advantage of the next one, or, maybe your questions that you submitted this time didn't get picked, or whatever the case may be, submit them for the next one. Because at the end of July, we're going to be doing another one for that. And same thing for, August and the rest of the months that go on throughout the year. So that's something to be aware of, as well as that you can leave your comments below and that you can chime in and tell us what you think about all the other things that we're going to be talking about here. Give us your answers, tell us your reflections on our answers, and so on and so forth, and blah, 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 blah. So let's start with Rachel Miller's question. I'm going to read this very, 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 very quickly. Back during the Divas era from 2007 to 2015, WWE female superstars would generally have just one short match on either Raw or SmackDown. They would get slightly longer matches on either Superstars or a pay-per-view, while there would be some episodes which will not have a women's match. Most of the female roster at the time were more models with a lack of wrestling experience. Since Triple H took over for John Laurinaitis and WWE's head of talent back in 2012, he started to hire more independent wrestlers while gradually phasing out the models, as well as match stipulations and pajama pillow fights and costume battle royals. These days, there are usually 2, sometimes even 3 women's matches on Raw, SmackDown, and the pay-per-views, as well as the matches being longer, and there aren't just hammer pulling and slaps. And we get to the question. How did the WWE change their perception regarding the women's division come about? I think that it was pressure from social movements and the times just changing and Triple H getting more power and them realizing that it's a marketable PR thing.
And obviously, to add on to that, the rise of Ronda Rousey in MMA made a women's combat sports star not only seem like a possibility, but a very lucrative reality.
Yeah, I was just jump off the back of that point. I think Ronda Rousey essentially changed the game for women in sports, but it was also more along the lines of just being so behind the times as they were. It would eventually it was going to catch up with them, and so they were going to have to make changes before things did start to get really bad. And also the idea of Triple H taking over NXT, like they say in the question, bringing in independent wrestlers in there. So it meant that people on the main roster had to keep up, otherwise they'd be exposed pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And they were. Let's be real. After the Natalya Charlotte match and then the rise of the 4 Horsewomen, the main roster looked like shit.
Yeah. So now they've been stepping up their game, and now we're at a point of no return, thankfully, where I don't think we're ever going to go back to that kind of thing. Let's move on to Peter. Or Peter's questions, more so. He's got an album coming out, Dissension into Niceness. I like the name of
that. What?
So he's asking if we would listen to it. Yeah, I mean, post it on the Mega Maniacs. We'll check it out. So shout out to Peter for having an album coming out. He says, with the amount of sleep that I get, will I be doing a Pokemon Sleep Let's Play?
I think you should.
I think that I need cheat codes. I need Game Genie to pull that off. Otherwise, I'm going to get the game over screen. If I'm like the Tamagotchi of this, I think that my Tamagotchi would die.
Would you be willing to, put some EKG stuff on your head and just let the world view your brain activity? Because I'm sure you're a 90% robot. I just need proof.
Well, that does not compute. I would really like to get that done. I actually wanted to get a sleep study done at some point, but you have to sleep for that. I've talked to multiple people that have gotten that done, And I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't be able to do it because they expect you to be like in this room sleeping for like 10 hours. And I'd be like, I'm just going to lay down and they're going to be like, you have to sleep for this. And I'd be like, I know. But I don't know. I haven't really looked into Pokemon Sleep. So,
Is it weird that their 3 games for mobile are Pokemon Go, Pokemon Home, and Pokemon Sleep? So it's basically
go home and sleep.
Pokemon Go Home and Sleep. Yeah.
I didn't think about that. What questions do we have here? I'm already on the what do we leave off at? We only have 2 questions so far. Yeah, okay, here we go. Whose multiple death do you enjoy more, Kenny from South Park or Hans Moleman from The Simpsons? I'm gonna take umbrage for this. Everybody always says Hans Moleman keeps dying. I never thought that he was dying all the time. I always thought that he was just like a sturdy little fucker, and that he, like there's like a drill in his brain, but he bounced back. So I'm gonna go with Kenny on that one.
Yeah, Kenny is the more iconic. That, oh my god, you killed Kenny was quite a popular phrase for a good 5 to 10 years. And they always managed to do it in a funny way.
Yeah, to my knowledge, Mole Man has never actually died. So you have to go with the person who actually dies on screen over and over and over again. I don't know who you could compare Kenny to in that regard.
Mr. Bell.
That goes over my head.
That's a very old Saturday Night Live thing where it was just like kind of like Gumby, like that stop motion Play-Doh type stuff. And the whole gimmick was, oh no, Mr. Bill, and then he would get like killed. I think this is like even 10 years before I was born or something.
What about Tim White, who tried to commit suicide every time?
Oh no, Mr. White.
I think I might have told the story before, I'm not too sure, but I got into South Park from a friend of mine explaining the show to me and not mentioning that it was a cartoon. So he was like, oh, this is a great show, and it's these 4 kids and whatever, and this kid Kenny dies in every episode. And I'm imagining that it's something like a 90210 type thing or something. And I'm like, why would I want to watch this show? Like, what are you talking about? Seems like really strange and all that. And then he starts explaining like, that Barbara Streisand is like a big robot and all this. And I'm like, what the fuck show are you talking about? And all this. And it took until I actually saw that it was a cartoon. And I'm like, oh, it's crazy and weird and whatever. Not just like some like, I don't know, NYPD Blue type thing or something like. So the whole Kenny dying in every episode, I was imagining like some teenage actor getting killed in every episode and having it be like some serious thing and stuff.
That'd be hysterical.
It'd be such a different program than just this little cartoon dude who you could never understand what he's saying and stuff. What are we at? Where is the most unique place that you could see the 24/7 title changing hands? Peter's suggestion is he wants a woman to be the champion, and her husband brings a referee into the room. They end up having sex. He pins the woman sleeping with her, and he's literally screwing her out of the title. I like that. The only one I could think of was Zero Gravity, where the title keeps changing hands because they're spinning, and like the one person's on top of the other one. So it's just like 1, 2, 3, and then like in another second, the other one's on top, and like 1, 2, 3. It's just reversals all the time. But I'm sure that there's lots of different ways. Like, do you guys think of any other things?
I'm surprised they haven't done the bathroom thing yet. Just
you have to clarify a little bit more.
Well, no, just like R-Truth is taking a shit, and like Drake Maverick is waiting for him on top of the stall, and he jumps down and manages to land on R-Truth, who can't get up off the toilet because he hasn't wiped his ass yet. Like. Just something of the bathroom humor variety.
I would like them to trick R-Truth into a game of Twister and do it there.
That'd be really good.
I think it'd be even better if like you didn't pin him, you forced him to contort his own body and he has to submit himself because his whole body gets caught up. So it's like a Sonada's Paradise Lock.
Where like he really, really wants to win that game. Yet when somebody spun, they picked like right hand on blue, and he's like, "Crap, that would pin me." Now I have to figure out if I want to lose the title or if I want to lose the game and stuff.
Well, I've never lost a game at Twister. And then
Yeah.
oh shit, you lost the title, so you can win it back for a 10th time.
10 times. That's crazy. He's going to end up having more title reigns than anybody at this point.
Yeah, even more than Stevie Richards' like 23, 24 hardcore title reigns.
Or Raven, or I think if you take out the hardcore title, I think Edge is the one that has the most title reigns.
Just like overall, yeah.
I think so, because I think he's got something like 22 or whatever. But, man, R-Truth he's shooting up that list. This one I couldn't think of an answer to, really. He says, using the women of WWE, make a women's tag team. His idea was Zelina Vega and Sarah Stock to be Mexican America for a one-off. I don't think that there's any pairing of women that I particularly love that isn't out there. Like, even the ones that, like Naomi and Lana, they were thinking about being a tag team. They were going to be the Ravishing Glow and whatever. It's just kind of blah to me. Like, I don't think that there's anything that I'm missing.
If we're only using the women within WWE, I would have to say that I don't have any dream pairings or anything like that. But since he suggested Sarah Stock, now is Sarah Stock actually employed by the company?
Yeah, she's a performance center.
All right, well, I'd like to see, and I'm surprised they haven't done this already, Sarah Del Rey get in the ring at least once. So maybe if you do, I don't know, the Iconics versus Sarah Del Rey and Charlotte, just to get Sarah in the ring, because I think it's a shame that she's done so much and hasn't at least had one match.
At least in like a battle royal or something, right?
Yeah.
I thought the Charlotte and Lacey Evans pairing had potential before they essentially just decided to do it for a week and then had them fighting by the end of it. And that match they had, which was so bad. I think Candice LeRae and Casey Catanzaro would make a pretty good tag team. Just like two ultimate babyface type characters who do a lot of high flying moves.
That makes sense.
If they ever call her up, Candice and Bayley would make a good, like, playful tag team, because they're both into, Disney stuff and they build giant Legos. I think there's something there if Bayley ever wants another tag team partner to replace Sasha.
More so, I think that they should make a stable. I don't really know of who, but like a 5-women stable. And you can't do it at this point with the brand split being the way that it is, but I mean, we all know that that's going to end. So if they're able to do something where they can take like maybe like both the rosters, merge them, have like one women's champion, one, we're going to get into this, I think, with another question of a mid-card champion and a tag team championship. Stables would be kind of fun. We haven't really seen women's stables all that much. It's basically been like a pairing of 2 or maybe 3.
Yeah, there should be a large group at some point, but there aren't that many stables really in WWE anymore anyway.
Yeah.
There's like Undisputed Era and I guess Shane McMahon's group, and that's about it really.
Yeah, for the most part. Lucha House Party. But
They're
that's
a
just
trio.
a trio. New Day's just a trio.
Yeah, need to bring factions back. Just not in the same way they did with the whole PCB Team Bad thing.
And not necessarily in the same way of the whole, like, racist 1998 type thing where it's just
No, it shouldn't just be a race war, essentially.
Yeah. I don't think you can pull that off in 2019. Do you have any other suggestions, Callum? Any other tag teams?
Nothing's like immediately springing to mind. Maybe I'm trying to think of someone who would pair up well with, like, I don't know, I think Chelsea Green's character, Chelsea Green and Nikki Cross, because of the whole jilted bride and the crazy Nikki Cross character would probably work quite well. Just 2 women that just scream at each other.
And I don't think she's doing that. I think she's just Chelsea Green.
I know, but I can hope for them deciding to go with the character that actually got her over in the first place.
Yeah, that's true. Do you think that AEW will do more harm than good, meaning killing off Impact, ROH, and Lucha Underground? Lucha is not dead, so I had to add it. Well, no. Let me put it this way: if something like Impact can't survive, they deserve to be killed off.
Oh, that's a very capitalist way of approaching things.
I hate the idea that that could be a capitalist type thing, but it kind of is true. Like, look, at this point, Impact has had more than enough chances, and they've never been able to figure out a way to get to be that number 2 spot. And AEW comes in, and they've got their issues, but they're far above and beyond what they are, just in terms of like the way that they present themselves and stuff. And at this point, if you are somebody working for Impact or ROH or Lucha Underground, if that's still around, or any of these other companies, and if you're looking to get into WWE, NXT, AEW, whatever, instead of staying in your brand, then then those companies have to kind of step up their game. AEW being there shouldn't, like, I guess I could put it this way: Burger King's still around. McDonald's didn't kill it. Vice versa.
Yeah, it's fair enough to say that. I think, especially this late in the game, if Impact Wrestling was to die, you can't really blame AEW for it. Because they've had enough, like you say, they've had enough warning signs. Lucha Underground is, I hate to break it to Peter, but that is pretty much dead. Like, it's all but the name. If it's not dead, then it means that they'll need an entirely new cast anyway to get things started again. So it's pretty much starting from scratch. And Ring of Honor, that's the only one that you could say AEW would end up killing, because AEW took all their best stars, and so officially made them a less viable company to watch.
Ring of Honor has severely felt the effects of All Elite Wrestling's debut. They don't nearly have the buzz that they did, and in losing the Elite once and for all, and with the Elite leaving Bullet Club and not having Bullet Club as strong, I think it kind of exposed that Ring of Honor for the last 5 years has been the American home of Bullet Club, and that's what kept them out front in mainstream news. However, I'm going to disagree with the entire question. I think if one of the two, Impact or ROH, were to die off, I don't think it would be a negative, especially if it's Impact, because I don't know if you guys have seen, but the Pursuit channel, which is the network they're on outside of Twitch, doesn't even show the right episode sometimes. They completely blocked out a main event by just showing 30 minutes of commercials.
Insane.
The last time they were streaming the Twitch stream, the person's computer came up and like a Google window popped up, and you can see that the whole episode is just being streamed through VLC player. At this point, I love Impact, and I support them as much as I can. I have their subscription thing, but it's brutally, just hanging on by a thread, and you have to ask yourself, at what point does it finally just end?
Yeah, I mean, I really just at this point want Impact to just be dispersed, and I say keep ROH around, keep them as like the ECW essentially. That way you can have AEW be the WCW, WWE still WWE. The Lucha Underground assets move to wherever, AAA or CMLL or whatever the hell. And Impact kind of gets like spread out between the tape library and everything, gets to WWE, and some of the talent, if they don't go to NXT, then they go to ROH or AEW. And that would be so much better off, I think.
I agree. But to be clear, you never want anyone to be out of work. You never want anyone to lose their job. And I understand that that's why it's a good thing that Impact survives. But from a fan perspective, they lost their touch with me a while ago.
That's why if they don't Like, to make them to where they're not losing their jobs, they go to these other companies,
Yeah.
Unless you're, like, an executive, and then you're kind of fucked. But at that point, if you're an executive and that's screwed up, then that's why you shouldn't have that job, because you didn't figure it out,
There's also MLW, which is doing fantastic. I
Yeah.
like MLW a lot.
Yeah, MLW has been taking a step up, so I think that they should replace Impact in a lot of different ways. MLW and ROH be the two secondary options to AEW and WWE. And then, of course, like, if you're in Mexico, you've got the Mexican territories. If you're in Japan, you got New Japan, so on and so forth. I asked Peter a question here. There is a saying that The Simpsons did it first. Wrestling people say WWE did it first. WWE barely ever did anything first, but I'm still going to kind of default to that just because that's like my go-to company. So if like, Bullet Club came out and they did that whole thing, I'm like, oh, this is NWO. But NWO was WCW, and WCW was copying NWO. So, you know what I mean?
Well,
I think you're
NW.
seeing... Go ahead.
Just that NWO is a copy of a Japanese
Yeah.
stable, which I assume was also a copy of another like invasion angle that happened in the past. It's the idea of everything has been done in wrestling. It's hard to find something new. It only gets slightly more modernized when technology advances and all that other stuff.
And I think now that we're entering an era where the Attitude Era was 20 years ago, and the Hogan era 10 years before that, everything feels like it's so heavily influenced and in a lot of cases ripped off by WWE ideas. Like every time you see a dark character, you go, well, that's The Undertaker. Like the Dark Order did the lights out thing, and you're like, okay, so they're doing the Undertaker thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I go. And then there's stupid shit too. Like everybody wants to do some form of Montreal for some reason, and that's a WWE thing. Or every authority figure being a heel. That's, while it's been done before Austin, it's so heavily influenced these days by who Stone Cold Steve Austin was.
Yeah, I think there's I don't know how much that you can actually say of like, oh, WWE did this trope first, because they're usually jumping on the bandwagon of something that's happened in the media, and they usually do it about 3 to 5 years too late for it to actually matter at all. But you could say things like Tough Enough was a different style of programming than what had been seen to that point in time, because things like Big Brother and other reality TV shows were in their infancy. So that was as close to groundbreaking as you can really get with them. You could say something along the lines of, even though they weren't the first wrestling company to use pay-per-view, they were the one to use it the best and to employ it to its fullest potential, which is why they managed to explode in the way they did during the Hulk Hogan era. But yeah, it's still very difficult to say that WWE did this first, because wrestling's been around for well over a century and in one format or another, and so it's probably been heavily influenced by ideas from way back in the past.
Well, Callum just talked about Tough Enough, and I want to throw a plug out there. If you want to hear Callum and I talk more about Tough Enough, you can check out 2001: A Wrestling Odyssey. The June episode is currently uploaded on the YouTube channel and the iTunes feed, and you have episodes for January through May with a special on WrestleMania X7, all on the Smark Out Moment YouTube channel and podcast feeds.
Boom. That took care of, I just, in my brain, I'm sitting there going, I should throw a plug out here. By the way, everybody listening, what do you think about these plugs that we've been throwing out like this? I think that it works a little bit better than just kind of hitting you with a bunch of them at the end, and some people aren't aware of all that because they kind of just skip through it. But is it annoying? If it's annoying, let us know. If you like it better, and if it's getting you more information that you would have skipped in the past, let us know that as well. Always a possibility to tweak things going forward. Let's go to Frankie's questions. Should WWE do 205 Live at Full Sail University to give it a better and different feel? That way you can share the roster between the two brands.
1,000% yes.
I'll see yes and no. I think that we're going to agree on the yes points, but we might not necessarily agree on the no points. Yes, I would say in the sense of it's easier to record in one shot. You could do 10 episodes of 205 Live, or probably not that much, but like say they do like an entire month's worth of 205 Live in one taping. That is easier for the roster. It lets them travel throughout like the Raw and SmackDown brand without having to work as much, and they can be utilized on different shows. They can wrestle multiple times a week, that kind of thing. It does give them a better feel. It's like the audience is tighter, so they're going to be more passionate instead of like people leaving after SmackDown and stuff like that. But you pre-tape it, it's going to be harder for people to want to watch it. Because when 205 Live was pre-taped before, and they were recording it like after SmackDown, and I forget what it was that was in the way. Was it Mixed Match Challenge, I think?
It was, Mixed Match
Well,
Challenge.
I think before that it was also the Mae Young Classic, and then it was the Mixed Match Challenge. They both influenced it because they were both taking place on Wednesdays.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so with that being the way that was, I know that I even wasn't watching 205 Live. I was just checking out the spoilers, and then I was like, okay, it's just another main event. And I'm one of the few people that actually watches that show, you know?
I think the benefit of having 205 Live at Full Sail is you'll get that passion from that audience, which is lacking, like Tony mentioned. And also, if you just integrate it to NXT a little bit, where if the Cruiserweight Championship was on a takeover, how much better does that match become almost by default, because more people are paying attention, more people at that point are thirsty for good wrestling outside of like, oh, well, here's the pre-show for Stomping Grounds, which I don't really want to watch anyway, and you just missed a banging triple threat.
I think, first of all, you have to say that they talk about sharing the roster between the two brands. They already share the roster between the two brands. You see Drew Gulak and a few other people, Humberto Carrillo, stuff like that, popping up between both shows. So that wouldn't change too much. Like I said, there are benefits to recording a batch of episodes at Full Sail, but my issue being that I don't think the Full Sail crowd, beyond the first 2 episodes of a taping, is that good, because by the time that you get to the second round of tapings, they're pretty dead, and it's hard to get any sort of match over in that atmosphere. I think maybe they need to start reducing the number of shows they do in a taping schedule, because surely they could get away with doing like 3 tapings as opposed to 2 and maintaining a hotter crowd. But it's what they're used to.
Do you think that 205 Live will exist beyond this year?
Yes.
There's just a lot of reports going around that it might be canceled, but it's kind of always been on the bubble, you know?
It will exist because they just don't want to lose people. And so they need to give those people a purpose to do, because otherwise they'll just like right with their contracts for the rest of the time.
Well, why can't you just integrate the Cruiserweight division into the main roster, into SmackDown, into Raw?
Well, because you can't even support all the superstars you already have on both of those brands. So adding like 15 to 20 other guys is just going to bloat the rosters even further. And with a wildcard rule in particular, the fact that superstars are going from one brand to the other, and you're seeing the same cluster of 10 to 15 people on both shows pretty much taking up all the time, it's not only possible for them to just be, the only way they will get on TV is by being part of the chasing pack after R-Truth.
See, this is a weird scenario where this year we don't know exactly what this deal with Fox is going to bring. And there are a lot.
Bischoff.
Yeah, Bischoff and Paul Heyman. We're talking about that a little bit more on the hot tags. There's a lot of elements to this that could point in the direction of 205 Live going away pretty soon. Like, let's put it this way. Wild card rule already kind of effectively killed the brand split. It's just, we have the pay-per-views are cross-branded. The shows are cross-branded now. It took them less than 1 episode with the wild card rule to already break the wild card rule. So we know that this is just every episode is a Raw Super Show and a SmackDown Super Show, except for they just ignore SmackDown in some ways. We got Clash of Champions coming up in September. Fox is going to want to have more people with access. They're going to want to change things. And there are rumors that the NXT call-ups are going to be happening as well. There could be a big change when it comes to even TV deals of like SmackDown moving to Fridays. They're going to have to split the production crew, and they're going to rearrange their live event schedule. They're going to rearrange, maybe main event isn't going to be a thing anymore because WWE clearly does not value main event. And I don't blame them either because they've forced themselves to be in a situation where main event doesn't matter and nobody cares about it. But they don't put it up on their website. They act as if that show doesn't exist. They never promote it. They never show you highlights. They never mention anything. It's really like, if you do not actively know that that is a thing that's going on, you don't know that it exists. And there are so many times when I'm checking the results on Twitter and people are going, what is this main event thing that they're doing before Raw starts? Because they're in the crowd and they have no idea what's happening. And there's people that refer to it as, oh, there's some kind of a dark match or whatever. Or there's people that go, oh, main event's still around. Huh. They somehow recorded that before that. And they do that with 205 Live to a certain extent, too. Like, I've seen people on Twitter after SmackDown say, oh, it looks like that they were doing something called 205 Live. And it's insane to me. But main event is on Hulu. And Hulu is doing this whole thing with Disney switching over and Fox and everything. Fox is kind of in that transitional period with Disney. We might see Hulu change, and if Hulu changes, main event might change or just cease to exist. And if main event ceases to exist, they're not going to record that before Raw. Maybe they record 205 Live before Raw. Maybe they record 205 Live after SmackDown, the same that they've been doing. Maybe they get rid of 205 Live. We've got Drake Maverick, who is doing more and more things on the main roster now, and he's less and less of a general manager on 205 Live. They might want to get rid of that. And then if you get rid of the general manager and you incorporate the wild card rule, and Fox doesn't want something, and you want more people on the brands, and you add a third hour to SmackDown, or whatever the case may be, by the time October comes around, I would not be shocked at all if WWE spins this, and they say, you know, it's time to shake things up again. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding more people to the roster. We are going to take the people from 205 Live, and they're going to be on Raw and SmackDown. And isn't that great? Because the Cruiserweight Championship can be defended on both shows. And then a little asterisk being, but we're not going to do 205 Live anymore. And then that way they just kind of move on. You know what I mean?
Now, I can totally see that happening. But I also feel like as soon as that show goes away, for as little as people watch this show, as soon as it goes away, people are going to go, yo, 205 Live was so good.
Yeah.
There's so many fire matches on 205 Live. Oh my God, Buddy Murphy, Mustafa Ali, remember that match? There, as soon as it goes away, which is going to be the funniest thing about it.
Yeah, because people do that all the time. Yeah. I mean, we are 205 Live on Twitter. This dude is every single chance he gets beating that drum of like, we need to have more support for 205 Live. And I agree with him in a lot of different ways. Like he has a petition up there. Not too many people have signed it, but about the idea of why hasn't 205 Live had a takeover event? It's like, yeah, that's a good point. They've never had a pay-per-view. Not even a small one. You would think that they would have done that back when 205 Live was like still a priority. And they never did. Just goes to show you how much support that they really had, you know? It's a shame. Let's see what we got going on here. Thoughts, first impressions of the Big Brother cast. I'm the only one who's watching, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this time around, yeah.
Alrighty, so I'm going to breeze through this pretty quickly. I'm looking at the group of people right now because I don't remember any of their fucking names. Annalise, that sucks to have that name. Analyse. Anal lice, essentially.
Anal lice.
She's cute. Don't know much about her. I don't know much about it, like the personalities. A lot of people, only 2 episodes have aired. We're recording this in the afternoon, so tonight's episode hasn't aired yet, so keep that in mind. Not a big fan of Jessica. She seems like she's there for PR purposes, and she's just kind of being like, you know, like I thought it was funny that she's like I'm a plus size model, and I want to prove to everybody that like we are very active. And she's the first person that falls down on the physical competition, and it's like
Oof.
it's not really doing that a whole lot of wonder, you know. I don't know anything about Catherine. She's just kind of hot. That's whatever, just the typical like blonde model type. Christy seems like she's like a hippie type. Not a big fan of the hippie thing. Cliff seems kind of like a doof. But hey, whatever. The older guys are sometimes funny. Not a fan of Kemi at all. She is annoying. They always cast, and I hate it so much. Big Brother seems to only cast, particularly black women, if they are like really bitchy. Like, there's only been like maybe like 3 black women that have been on the show that haven't been this like stereotype, and they clearly go for that, and it's just shitty of them to keep doing that, you know. Danielle's like one of the only ones that I can remember. Zakia wasn't really. Nick is from right around my area, Washington Township. I was just kind of like, whoa, what the fuck? That's like right around the corner. So part of me is kind of like, I kind of want to see that guy be something decent, but I know nothing about him. Know nothing about David really. Holly seems pretty hollow. Isabella seems a little annoying. Jack with the Aquaman stuff's a little bit annoying, but he seems okay. Jackson seems okay. Tommy's funny. Sam is annoying as shit. This is this truck driver dude, and he's just kind of like, everything I do is just kind of screaming at the top of my lungs, and it's like, I fucking get it. You're on a reality show, man. Calm the fuck down. You don't need to be a 12 out of a 10 every single time you're talking.
Nicole, I'm looking at the cast now.
The roster.
I almost said roster. She looks like she'll teach me about the patriarchy, even whether or not I want to hear it. That's the vibe I get from her picture.
She is she's like the dork. The one that's like, I think she's like a preschool teacher or something, and she's all like, I'm nerdy and I've never really kissed a guy type thing and whatever. So she's either gonna be like background furniture or potentially like really fucking annoying. But she might be kind of fun. I don't really know. And Ovi, I mean, over 2 episodes, all he's pretty much said is, I was student body president a bunch of times. So he's kind of annoying. So
this Cliff guy, when I look at him, I just want to, like, I want some JR's barbecue sauce just looking at Cliff.
You know what I think of every time that I see him? Hank Hill.
Yeah. Like,
he's going to sell me propane and propane accessories.
That's exactly what he looks like.
I like the stable, or the God, I can't remember the name of the what they call them, the alliance of Jack and Jackson and that kind of group. But at the same time, I feel like that's gonna fall apart very easily. And right now, I guess my favorite out of the bunch, maybe Tommy, maybe somebody else is gonna change that. But it's 2 episodes in, and usually my opinions change and stuff. And I'm not feeling the season yet, but I'm not hating it either. There's plenty of seasons that have been like, I hate everybody, and that's, a pain in the ass, but I'm not loving anybody either right now. I'll keep watching.
So the funniest thing I see here is Cliff's occupation is a petroleum engineer, so he does work.
Yup.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's so like they just fucking cast Hank Hill. It's so weird. But I'll check in here once in a while. I was gonna put something on Fanboys about it, and I just haven't gotten around to it, and I probably won't at this point. But we'll see. Really quick plug. If you are not aware of Fanboys Anonymous, that is my site for the movie reviews, the TV talk, the video game, whatever I do, comic books, that kind of stuff. So go to fanboysanonymous.com and check that out if you are interested in anything that I do on that end of things. Subscribe to the Facebook and Twitter and YouTube channel. Follow the iTunes and Anchor and all the other kind of feeds like that for the podcast stuff. Check out the Patreon. Check out the merchandise shops on TeePublic and Redbubble and all the other kind of things that are happening there. Really quickly, why the fuck not? I'll just mention it. Patreon, if you are not aware of that, that is the donation service that you can do for both Fanboys Anonymous and Smark Out Moment. So donate if you got some spare change and you want to help us grow and you want us to do particular things, because we do have tiers where if you donate, I think it's like $20 a month or something like that, that you can not subscribe, you can request like a particular special feature of some sort. So if you're like, man, $20 a month, like I really, really want you guys to try to do like a superstar scores of somebody. Like, factor that in. There's also TeePublic and Redbubble for the merchandise shops, and that's for Fanboys Anonymous, for Smark Out Moment, and for A Mango Tees. We talked about the tournament ahead of time. Sexiest WWE Superstars tournament is going on right now, so if you have not voted for round 2, go ahead and do that as soon as you can, because that poll is shutting off either tonight or tomorrow morning. iTunes and Stitcher and Anchor and Spotify and Google Play and all that stuff is where you'll find that stuff. And Facebook and Twitter are at Smark Out Moment. There you go. We got all the plugs out of the way. Middle of the thing. No excuses now. Let's go on to, do you like when feuds start by someone pinning the champion and then the title match happens on a pay-per-view? Within moderation. If that's the only way that they can do it, it gets overdone, but it makes more sense than if it's just sort of like, Baron Corbin says, I am owed a title shot, and then he loses, and then he goes, I also get another title shot, and, But at least if you beat a champion and you deserve a title shot at that point, it makes sense.
It's essentially how they book championship feuds in New Japan, for the most part. The way they book championship feuds in New Japan is either somebody pins the champion during a tag team match, which gives the indication that they're going to have a singles match going down the line, or the idea that somebody just comes out and challenges you for it, and you can either accept or deny based on your own reaction to it. I think it works, like you say, in moderation. You can't just do that as like the be-all and end-all thing. But I don't like it when it's just a singles match.
Yeah.
Where you've just had, if it's in a tag team situation or it's in a fatal four-way or triple threat scenario where there's other people involved, and it couldn't just be a case of like, well, if you just had this match with this guy beforehand, the champion, and you're just going to see the same match again, except the title's going to be on the line. You need to vary it up a little bit.
For me, I think it's a good way to build a feud. Like, let's say a newcomer, like a Ricochet, burst on the scene on Raw and he pins Seth Rollins, and it's like, wow. Or better yet, because we had this example earlier this year, Mustafa Ali came on SmackDown, pinned Daniel Bryan in a tag match. That's a good way to do that kind of a story. But like these guys said, I don't like when it's, well, Baron Corbin's going to have a non-title match with Seth Rollins, and through every shady means possible, he pinned Seth Rollins. So now we're going to see the same match, but with the title on the line. That I don't like.
Especially when it's lazy enough that it's like the week before like the go-home show for a pay-per-view, and they just haven't figured out what to do with like the Intercontinental Championship. And they might do this too with Finn Balor. Finn Balor was kind of challenged a little bit by Shinsuke Nakamura. We could end up having like the go home show before Extreme Rules. They just have Shinsuke versus Balor on SmackDown. Balor takes a pinfall, and they're like, you got to imagine at this point that he's probably able to get a title shot. And then by the end of the episode, it's been made official. Shinsuke Nakamura will get his rematch again. And then it's like, okay, well, why didn't you just announce it? Like, you didn't need to have the match to prove that Shinsuke could beat him just so Finn Balor can beat him at Extreme Rules. And be like, look at that. He didn't beat him a second time, At that point, I would rather them just go, we decided to add this match. Check it out. These two are going to fight. Then again, that would change a lot of things. But
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It's partially why I like that they got rid of the automatic championship rematch thing, because that was a lazy storyline to hang your hat on. It's, what do we do here? I don't know. They can keep trading the title and just get the automatic rematch.
Yeah, but they also at the same time instituted the rule that if the challenger loses, they automatically get a rematch to challenge the champion again.
Yeah, like, which is stupid.
It makes it no better. It's no better right now.
No, that's one of those things that they had put out there when they said, like, we're adding all these people to NXT, but we're not going to use them. And, like, we're getting rid of the Authority, but hey, Shane McMahon's a heel now. Like, that kind of thing. This is a year-long experimentation period of what can we promise people that we can renege on pretty quickly. The third hour of Raw is going to change so much. We're going to dim the lights for one episode.
They panicked with the no authority announcement because they beat the shit out of Baron Corbin, but here we are, and Baron Corbin's the hottest heel, or if not the hottest heel, the one on top.
He's the hottest heel if you're a Japanese woman in that video. Did you see that? She's crying her eyes out because she's like, I love him so much.
Well, they don't get big, strong man over there. Like, that's exotic to them.
Tyler Bates gonna have to go over there. He's at least a big, strong boy.
He's a big, strong boy.
Doing very well in this tournament. That's we'll talk about that in a couple days, but yeah. What question are we on? Oh. Would you rather be known for saving Raw and SmackDown, or rather be known for kicking off AEW to be a successful brand? I would rather save Raw and SmackDown. I feel like that is the harder thing to do at this point. And I would rather be seen as a savior instead of a rebel, where, like, I don't know, I guess it's sort of like I took something that was failing and I made it better, rather than, oh, I can do that on my own. Also, at the same time, let's put it honest, WWE is not going anywhere. They're not going to be beaten out by AEW to a point where they get overtaken and World Wrestling Entertainment ceases to exist. So, in the eyes of wrestling history, if I saved Raw and SmackDown, I'm more immortalized than what's going to happen with AEW, you know?
Yeah, I think it's not so much. It's definitely probably harder to save Raw and SmackDown, so it makes it more of a interesting task to be the one being the brains behind. But it's also in a situation where you've already got an established platform with fans, an established like bank account and everything along those lines. You've got funds coming from all over the place. So if you do manage to save it, then you're pretty much on a good trajectory going forward. Whereas even if you start AEW to be successful, I mean, WCW at some point was successful, and then it all came crashing down. And that's why I also will never be caught saying that WWE was never going anywhere, because I know WCW went somewhere. So, everybody was saying the exact same thing when WCW went down. So, I don't think it's hugely unlikely, but I'll never end up saying it because people dig this up 20 years down the line and just say, hey, how stupid were you when WWE's like no longer around and we're watching the AEW network instead? And, not going to happen, but
I think the longevity of WWE makes it more attractive to get in there and change the system. I can see the appeal of just saying, no, I'm gonna take the path less traveled and start my own thing. And like these guys have said, AEW is the rebel group. It's hot right now because it's the shiny new toy, but if you listen to our review of Fyter Fest, you can see that there are cracks there. And cracks in a new foundation might crumble easier. I really feel like WWE has stood the test of time, and they've survived a lot worse. So if you save Raw and SmackDown, you're immortalized. Even Vince Russo is still fucking hanging his hat today on, bro, I did the Attitude Era. So, like, he was in and out, and he's still talked about today, and some people will still go for his advice because he saved Raw in a very, very small case.
Yeah, and I think that ultimately is going to win you over more, because right now AEW has a lot of fans, and if we were just being selfish about it, like, if you're looking for the notoriety and the pride behind it, if you're the dude who came in and you saved Raw and SmackDown, you are forever, like, why don't you bring that guy back?
See Eric Bischoff,
Yeah.
Seriously, Eric Bischoff managed to make WCW a profitable company, and even though they flamed out as quickly as they came up, he's still sought after today and just got a job with WWE because he's one of the only people that ever took Vince head on and even down.
And when he got signed to TNA, there was a lot of people that were like, oh, this is going to make TNA the big thing now because they got Eric Bischoff, and we'll see how that works out. But
I would love to have just done something good for 3 years out of the, I don't know, 20 to 30 years that I've been working in that industry. and just like, yep, I had these good 3 years, and the rest of it, we don't need to worry about the rest of it. These and that would just keep getting me jobs anywhere I wanted to be.
Isn't that wrestling is a weird business because it really does work like that. Not even a successful actor, if they had a really good string of movies for 5 years, they can still flame out. Wrestling. Oh, if you were big during the Attitude Era, you can get bookings, you can get hired anywhere.
Mm-hmm. So weird. Wrestling's just a completely different animal, like a platypus. I don't know why I decided to go down there. Would you rather die before your wife dies or after your wife dies? She has to live forever.
Yeah, it was a pretty easy choice here. I don't want to go through the pain of my wife dying, so I would rather die before her.
So you'd rather put her through the pain of you dying?
Yes.
Jesus.
I've already told Caroline that. I'm like, I am very sorry. I will do everything I can for you in every capacity, but there is no way that
you need to live forever.
Yeah, like, I will jump in front of a train, and you will have to deal with it. Like, that kind of thing.
I'm with Tony on this one.
I would die afterwards. Because especially if it is like a close relationship and stuff like that, so it's a tumultuous thing to go through. I'd rather be the one that's inflicted, because at the end of the day, death is painful, but it's not. But once you're dead, essentially. It's the people who are alive once somebody dies that are the ones that suffer beyond it, essentially. At least in my mindset.
Yeah. I mean, let's put it honest. Like, if you are the type of couple that you gotta, this is like a weird way to say it, but you gotta hope that you're the type of couple that dies within a short time frame of each other.
Yeah.
Because then that means that you had a relationship that you were like, you just couldn't live without the other person. And that's what you kind of have to go for. Which is like really bad for like your kids and stuff, because then you're like, oh god, I just lost a mom, I just lost a dad, whatever the case may be. Like, horribly depressing situation. But what colors? 2 colors make the best combinations. I love that Frankie put that like right afterward and whatever.
Red for the bloodstain my wife left, and brown for the dirt that covered her corpse.
I go black and white. It works with everything. Black and white is like, a suit and shirt and tie combo. You can have like a black and white cookie. Black and white is like elegant, but it's also cool. And it's like black and white is the best for sure.
Ditto. Black and white.
I've always been partial to the green and gold.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
That's every creator wrestler I've ever done on like WWE game or anything like that has always had green and gold tights.
So you like the 24/7 championship?
Yeah.
Well, it looks. I have more of a problem with the design than I do the color of it.
Oh, the color's the thing that I hate.
Well, you just don't like color because you don't even like the North American title.
No, I don't like the North American title because I don't like the red strap with like that round kind of thing. I don't like round.
But yeah, I just like the. I don't even know what it is. It's just like green is my favorite color, so I'm obviously going to go along that side of thing. And gold makes it look more elegant.
Tony,
And
what's your favorite color?
Well, I was just gonna say, for anybody that goes, black and white aren't colors, they're the absence of color, and it's like, oh, all right, fine. We're talking Green Lantern spectrum here. Blue's my favorite like color, and if I were to pair blue with anything, it would be black again, because I think black plus everything just works extremely well, except for orange, because then it's just like Halloween. I don't know. I go with like black, white, silver, gray, like those. I'm always going to go with those more than anything. And then I'm going to throw blue in there, and then I'm going to throw gold in there, or like maybe like a tan. If I'm already at the 5 of those and they're already out of the mix, then I'm going red and green, and then we're just all over the place.
See, I used to be really partial to like red and black, but over the years, my favorite color has become like a very sky blue kind of color, and I actually think that looks good with white.
Yellow's the worst.
Fuck yellow.
Yellow's just awful. Ugh.
Like a mustardy yellow. Fuck you.
That's the thing. Yeah, yellow doesn't work with anything. Yellow and red, it's like, all right, it's ketchup and mustard. Blue and yellow, get rid of the yellow. Orange and yellow, what the hell's going on here? Like, just yellow's the not even the red-headed stepchild. It's the yellow-headed stepchild. This one, I could go down a big rabbit hole on this one. Do you have any quotes that you remember for your life? Now, I'm not too sure exactly what that's saying. Is there any quotes that you keep in mind, like a motto, or if it's like, do you have any quotes that you really, really like, or any quotes that you've personally said? There's a lot of different things. How did you guys interpret that question?
It's hard. I can't really say that there's many kind of quotes that I can really voice off the top of my head. I probably could if I was just in any other situation. When I'm actually asked to say what are quotes that you think of, the mind just immediately goes blank. But there's probably some that are trapped somewhere in my mind that I bring out on occasions, but I don't have them like written down, or I can't really bring them up on cue. It just has to be the moment, has to be right for it.
As the question is asked to me, I immediately think of two How I Met Your Mother quotes. The one, I won't say the whole speech, but the speech that Ted gives when he's trying to get the locket back for Robin, and he says basically, you never stop loving somebody, even when the whole world calls you crazy. You don't stop, because if you could, it wouldn't be love. And then I think of the other Ted Mosby quote, what if I don't think of the books?
Mm-hmm.
Which I do that to myself way more than I want to admit.
If you do not know the "what if I don't think of the books" thing, that's a big one. I'm a list maker, a note taker. I feel like I need a third rhyme to that, like that song or something. And I have on my Evernote thing, I have a whole section dedicated to quotes that has 5 different sections within it. So I could go on for a 5-hour podcast about just the quotes and stuff, but I'm gonna read a couple of things that I think are great. I'm gonna start off with my quotes. Because every so often I'll say something and I'll be like, I'm going to write that down to remember it for the future. And I'm not going to read all of them, obviously, because that would take forever. But some of them that I think were particularly funny or insightful or whatever. The blind don't compete with each other to see who... wait, I'm reading this wrong. The blind don't compete with each other as to who can see best. I don't remember who I said that to, but I was like, that's actually pretty insightful. 1 grain of sand can tip a scale. The world is an apple, just eat around the brown spots. That one to me, I was like, after I said that, I'm like, wow, what am I, like fucking Sophocles or something? At the same time, I said to somebody one time, I'm more confused than a fat kid in a vitamin store. And that one I thought was really funny. Sesquipedalian loquaciousness is supernumerary. If you look up the definition for those, very, very funny. Let's see if any of the other ones stand out to me. Now, no matter how many times you piss on a bar of soap, it's still going to be a bar of soap in the end. Forgot about that one. I told somebody to shut up one time and said to them they should become best friends with a roll of duct tape. Let's see here. I'd be more fun if I had more fun. That's very depressing. Apparently I said that in summer 2016. Where do you go if you want to take a vacation from yourself? I've made jokes about dicks that are bigger than yours. That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, I got a list of a million of these kind of things and stuff. Salvage what's worth salvaging. There's no use picking through dumpsters for trash. Oh, I remember who I said that about.
Damn.
Oh, well.
Who was the catalyst for that, Tony?
It was a particular someone. We'll get into it at another time. if I'm talking about like things that weren't just the things that I had said though, and it's just quotes that really like mean a lot to me or whatever. I got some from How I Met Your Mother, of course. That is something that is a great source of different things like that. This one I wrote down from a while ago. I don't remember what episode it's in, but it's, we struggle so hard to hold on to these things that we know are going to disappear eventually, and that's really noble. But even if you save every rainforest from turning into a parking lot, well, then where are you going to park your car? And I really like the way that works out.
One.
I think it is because it's when he's doing the whole. No, actually, it's Zoe, isn't it?
Might be Zoe. That sounds like a Zoe thing.
Yeah, it's Ted says it because obviously all these are from Ted. Kids, your grandma always used to say to me, nothing good happens after 2 a.m. And she was right. When 2 a.m. rolls around, just go home and go to sleep. Have you ever had one of those days where nothing at all monumental happens, but by the end of it, you have no idea who you are anymore or what the hell you're doing with your life?
Yes.
This one in particular, I'm going to read the whole thing because this one's very good. This one I've actually had as like my cover photo for a while on Facebook, and it's like a good thing to just remember when you're feeling down. The great moments of your life won't necessarily be the things you do. They'll also be the things that happen to you. Now, I'm not saying you can't take action to affect the outcome of your life. You have to take action, and you will. But never forget that on any day you could step out the front door and your whole life could change forever. You see, the universe has a plan, kids, and that plan is always in motion. A butterfly flaps its wings, and it starts to rain. It's a scary thought, but it's also kind of wonderful. All these little parts of the machine constantly working, making sure that you end up exactly where you're supposed to be, exactly when you're supposed to be there, the right place at the right time. I don't believe in that all the way, but it's very good. There's a quote from Darius from Atlanta. As humans, we are always close to destruction. Life itself is but a series of close calls. I really like that. Oh, here's a fucking... Ooh. This one speaks to me on multiple different levels. It's from Rock of Ages Part 5, Twilight of the Gods, a Justice League comic. If you don't know what the Black Racer is the death personification of the Flash, essentially. It's like, kind of like the Grim Reaper. It can chase you down no matter who you are, and you will, as soon as it catches up to you, you're dead. And I think it's talking about the Atom at the time. I don't remember for sure, but it says, this one catches sight of me, and like a good scientist asks a question. My answer is yes. That gives me chills, because it's just like, what is he asking Death? Is he asking something as simple as, are you Death? And my answer is yes. Or is it like, is there an afterlife? And the answer is yes. So many different things when it comes to that. I'm trying to find that one thing that I absolutely love from 2001: A Space Odyssey, because I never want to read it wrong and get it wrong. Here it is. All right, yeah. Probably my favorite quote, and again, I'm just gonna I could go off thousands of quotes from H.L. Mencken and whatever, but this one to me, more than anything, if there's one quote that I try to keep in mind throughout my whole entire life, it's from the very end of the novel for 2001: A Space Odyssey. And if you've not seen the movie, I'm not going to fucking spoil it. But it's, then he waited, marshaling his thoughts and brooding over his still untested powers. For though he was master of the world, he was not quite sure what to do next. But he would think of something. Chills every time. Amazing. Yeah, we're gonna move on to Callum. Yeah,
I was gonna say I just did to talk because like you go through quite many. I definitely don't have as many that you have, just basically in storage, pretty much, that you can pull out for any situation. I did a bit of like looking into, because there are some ones that I have been familiar with, but I don't know word for word, so I had to just like dig them out from somewhere. John Cleese, the like one of my favorite actors.
Love him.
Yeah, from the obviously Fish Called Wanda and 40 Towers and all that other stuff.
Die Another Day.
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah. But yeah, so he said things along the lines of I like quite a number of his quotes. Things along the lines of creativity is not talent; it's a way of operating. It's just the idea of like his idea is like if you want people to be truly creative, you need to give them a sense of like working at it or a sense of allowing them to go through those processes. It can't just like be it's not saying that's ingrained in people. Obviously there are some people who are more creative than others, but that's built over time. It's saying also along the lines of nothing will stop you from being creative so effectively as the fear of making a mistake, which I try and remember as well as possible, but it's hard to do as some sort of when it gets to like actually applying it in day-to-day life. And then this one as well. A wonderful thing about true laughter is that it just destroys any kind of system of dividing people. It's the one thing that I like to think that the one thing that unifies all of humanity is that we can all laugh about something. And I know nowadays it seems like ridiculous considering how like politically correct the world seems to have gotten. But it's why I like those jokes that you get in Christmas crackers, because the purpose of them is that you're not supposed to laugh at them, but it's supposed to be the idea is that those jokes are so bad that it unifies the entire room against the joke.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a way of bringing people together, and laughter is like should be the cause of that side of things. And then a couple other things. I religiously watch the TV show House. Like that is above all else like just a TV show that I'll watch anything else. And one of my favorite quotes from like Hugh Laurie's character is like, if nobody hates you, you're doing something wrong.
That's very true, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like everybody, that's one of those phrases that I've heard a lot of times from a lot of people that they apply to themselves when like they're just kind of an asshole, and they'll be like, I don't know, some like thief or something, and then they're like, God, everybody mad at me, and I'm doing something right. But it's like, no, the reality is, if you aren't at least upsetting somebody in some fashion, you're not making big changes and stuff. You know?
And then the final one, I have to just go back to the great philosopher Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Life sucks and then you die.
Life sucks and then you die.
Yeah.
That is the one. When anyone will talk about quote in any sort of relation to wrestling, that's the first one that goes straight to the top of the head. Because it's so disappointingly true.
In terms of promos, I quote a lot more than I would like to. The Bret Hart rant in the cage where he just goes, I'm frustrated isn't the goddamn word for it. This is bullshit. Like, I've had enough of this. I quote that so much because it's just like, yeah, you really hit those moments where you just go, fuck this.
You know what's, I'm looking through some of my other ones here, bypassing a lot of the funny ones, because the funny ones are just kind of like jokes, like, we're going to turn this team around 360 degrees, or whatever. But I'm looking at, like, the more, like, inspirational type ones and stuff. I came across a couple other ones, and I'm like, I got to mention these while we're talking about it. A grandmaster doesn't say he's a grandmaster; other people say it for him.
The very Seth Rollins quote.
Yeah,
he should definitely pay attention to that one.
Calvin and Hobbes is surprisingly really good when it comes to these kind of things. But one of them that I like a lot is life is like topography, Hobbes. There are summits of happiness and success, flat stretches of boring routine, and valleys of frustration and failure. Very much true. I love this quote, and it's so weird. It's funny, but at the same time, it's very like it kind of makes me feel like I want to kill myself. Which is from Carl Sagan. If you wish to make an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe. Which is so like mind-blowing because it's true, but it's also just fucking weird. Like that he said that in like some instructional video or whatever, because it's like, yeah, okay, let's make an apple pie from scratch. You need these materials. Okay, well, to make those materials, you need to make this. And you go back in time and all that, and it's like, yeah, you have to make a fucking universe to be able to make an apple pie. And it's so weird.
I'll give you one more from Ted. Here's the secret, kids. None of us can bow to be perfect. In the end, all we can do is promise to love each other with everything we've got, because love is the best thing we do.
Very much so. Everybody wants happiness, nobody wants pain, but you can't have a rainbow without a little rain. Good one. I've actually said this to people. This is an H.L. Mencken thing. He used to send this as his response to every angry letter that he got, which is, "Dear Sir or Madam, you may be right. Sincerely yours, H.L. Mencken." But he also has another great one. "A cynic is a man who, when he smells flowers, looks around for a coffin."
I think that's fair.
And I don't know what this one's about. This is gonna be the last one that I put out there. Because I want to leave people chance in their comments to tell me what you think. It's from Nietzsche. "I have forgotten my umbrella."
That's are we supposed to answer that one as well? What do we think that means?
I don't know. It's just like
yeah.
there's
Were
something
you
about
Were
it.
you at a St. Patrick's Day party?
Yeah, it's like there could be so many interpretations of that. Something about it I just like.
I guess, like, if I was to go by any sort of interpretation, it's probably wrong. It's just the idea of you only notice that you've forgotten your umbrella when you need it.
That's kind of the way that I take it too. Like, your umbrella not being there is only ever a problem when it's raining and you didn't bring it. And if you would have had the foresight, you would have brought the umbrella and that would have served its purpose, but you didn't, so you forgot it. And who knows what else that you're forgetting that's going to be coming up in the future. And like, but it could be literally that he just had in his notes, like, fuck. You know, like it could have just been something like that.
And
It's
someone
such
just
a weird
decides to get a
thing.
really deep meaning out of it. It's just like,
Right, yeah.
"Dear diary, I forgot my umbrella this morning." It's just like, oh, what is he trying to say with that?
He's like having lunch with somebody. They're doing this big, like, well, I think my philosophical point of view is this and whatever. He's just like, it's fucking raining. Anyway, I think I'll have like the fish sandwich or something. Like, it's gonna.
Fish sandwich. I guess that's some sort of a metaphor for like life being between like two
different currents, and
yeah.
He's like, I'm not trying to be philosophical. I just want to order the tilapia, or like. Let's move to Frankie's. What's your favorite sound in the world? Caroline's laugh. I know.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
it's fine.
really.
Yeah, that's mine as well.
Yeah. All three of us, Caroline's laugh.
Yeah.
She's got so many different laughs, and I call her out on all of them, and she hates it so much because I'll be like, "Oh, you just did the kind of thing," like when she's feeling like devious or whatever. But when she like actually like cracks the fuck up, and she's super loud, and it's kind of like kind of thing and stuff. Like every little giggle, it's just like that's the best. That's why I have to die before her.
I think we all know the real answer, right, guys? It's the Raw theme music. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, guys. Yeah.
Specifically, Nickelback.
Yeah.
Burn it to the ground and
I don't know. Best sound in the world. I guess it's like the microwave going off.
Yeah, that one does fill me with a lot of joy.
I
beep beep beep.
I actually think it's like I can't answer this question seriously because I can just keep coming up with joke answers in my head because I just think, oh well, it's the coin flip before Okada comes out for his next match and stuff like that because you just know that something good's about to happen. But
I'm surprised you haven't said Michael Cole saying it's boss time.
I mean, I can't go that far. It's like, I won't even joke about that one.
You know what sound I really hate, and like I shouldn't really hate it, but I just really do. Every fucking time I load the network.
Yeah. The sound that I know this obviously isn't the question, but the sound that I hate most in the world is a broom across the ground.
Oof.
Because I do that, and for some reason I gag after I hear that. I don't know why. Just it's the sound of the brushes going against the especially if it's on pavement or something like that. It's just it just really flips my stomach.
I know what you mean. Like if somebody's like got like a nail brush or like a toothbrush and they're doing that, like my blood runs cold. I get goosebumps all over the place. I fucking hate that. I'd rather listen to nails on a chalkboard sometimes than that.
Yeah, definitely. But I also would say that I'm probably in the minority here as being a fan of ASMR.
Oh no, that's awesome.
Oh, right, cool. So I was just gonna
Yeah.
say because like it's something that's very polarizing to a lot of people. But
Oh,
yeah, I love so many of like the ASMR sounds, especially
let's
like
let's specify it's if it's not like the creepy thing of like people like eating and going like.
I don't actually mind. I don't mind eating if it's like not over exaggerated. I don't mind those. I actually like drinking sounds a bit too much as well. It's just a case of like I usually don't watch them do it because that's a bit weird. But if you're just hearing it and like water flowing and stuff like that, I've started listening to when I'm at work, like because obviously I write for a living as well. So if I'm writing, so I've grown more accustomed to listening to white noise machines
Yeah.
while I'm doing it because it just like increases your focus and it's just a nice repetitive sound to be listening to.
Thunderstorms are just so good.
Yeah.
More so than beach sounds, I think, even.
Love the
The
sound of
thunderstorm would
rainfall.
probably be my number one if it wasn't for. Yeah.
I'd like the rivers and waterfalls, but the problem is that every half an hour you want to go up and go pee. It's like that's the main issue with it.
Other really good sounds for me throughout my life. The intro sound when you turn on your PlayStation 2.
Oh, that.
Oh, that was so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take a look on YouTube. There's people that have made music based off of that, and plenty of different things that are like kind of like messing around with those kind of things. Because I always thought that was a little bit creepy, and I'm not the only one apparently, which is really cool. But that is like, fond memories and stuff, like the PlayStation 1, 2, and I like that you brought that up. That's a good one.
And I'm a huge soda drinker, way more than I should. So, cracking open a can and just that sound of the can opening, great sound for me.
I also like the first sting before the Pokemon theme music starts. It's like you just hear the little like drum beat or whatever, and it's just like yeah, and then it's just like okay, now shit's going down.
A lot of those, like if it's got a nostalgic thing to it, and you hear like,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, hey, I'm gonna catch Pokemon, like that kind of thing or something.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find my. I hope
Have
I
you
don't
got
get, like,
have you got a favorite sounds as well? Is that right next to your quote list?
no, I'm looking up. I'm looking on my phone right now, and I'm trying to. I hope I don't get demonetized for doing something like this, but see if you recognize this. This is something that I really, really love that most people hate, but it's also been tweaked. I hope it plays on here. Watch, probably not.
Give it a go.
This is one of my alarms to wake up to.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Oh god.
It's 80% slowed down.
That really, I don't know. I hated that when I was a kid, but I kind of like listening to it because they used to put that before like some TV shows and obviously movies that you'd watch and stuff like that.
And
It's
it
just
Yeah.
always
like
got so much louder. Like
yeah, I
that
know.
noise was so louder than everything else.
And I did the same with a couple other things. Like you had mentioned the PlayStation one. I'm not gonna play the whole thing because this is whatever, but this is
Oh,
10 times
Yeah.
slower of the PlayStation one. So it's like those are really cool. Like when you start messing around with stuff like that. I love that THX thing though. It's so good.
so what are
How
we
m-
doing the ASMR podcast?
Oh, you mentioned ASMR. How great is the title change thing when they change the side plates?
What, for WWE stuff? Yeah,
Yeah.
that is really good for that thing. I've watched those things on loop for like good
Yeah.
like, half an hour to hour long stretches of just like them just switching the title plates. It's just so relaxing.
If it's not a
Yeah.
playlist, they should make it one.
Hell yeah.
And they should just have that be like, you could just put that on. It's like everybody's title changes. The plates getting changed and all that. Because that is really like, that's really relaxing.
Yeah.
The little clinks and stuff. Thoughts on people getting frustrated of Shayna Baszler being champion and wanting new blood? For instance, Deonna Purrazzo getting involved more, Casey Catanzaro, Xia Li, Chelsea Green, etc. More talent, the better. Baszler's fine as champion. Just don't book her in the same exact feud every time.
I think with Shayna Baszler, and I'm surprised you don't see this comparison more often, it's like having a full-time Brock Lesnar, because that's how good she is, technically speaking, and with her intensity. And I can see why it gets old, because things tend to move fast in NXT, and she's still champion. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. It's just a case of she's a very dominant champion. I can see why certain people would be feeling stale about her right now, just because she's a two-time champion and she's held it pretty much non-stop, apart from a short blip with Kairi Sane holding the title for the best part of a year and a half, nearly 2 years at this point. So you could see why it would get a little bit taxing, but I think that she carries off the heel champion role as good as anybody in the company right now.
Yeah, and I don't think that anybody that's brand new coming into the mix could pull off something better than she. Like, I like Casey, but she shouldn't be champion right now over Shayna, you know?
No.
Just give her more challengers and mix things up a little bit. Don't make it to where everything is just Baszler and Duke and Shafir beating up people, and then two more people come to the rescue. And
yeah, well, she's going to be. It's going to be Mia Yim is the next one. Yeah. So that could be quite an interesting one, because it's like two people that are a bit more like more fighters, as opposed to the Io Shirai one, which was like a high flyer against a bully brawler. It's going to be two people that are a bit more on equal footing.
Yeah, I'm excited for that match. That would be good. If you knew the world was ending, what would you do? I'd probably just like cry my eyes out until I'm dead and panic. But I would try desperately to tell everybody that I know that's important to me, like how I feel about them, in case they didn't know. Because I'm always like concerned about that. To be like, no, listen to me. This is what I'm thinking, and you know, like that kind of thing. Even though it's ultimately fruitless, because everybody would die.
Yeah, I do a lot of that as well, which is why on holidays I tend to have like a set list of people that get these drawn out messages.
Mm-hmm.
And if I knew the world was ending, the first thing that comes into my head, outside of, you know, telling people you love them, is the morbid curiosity of, okay, after all of this is what it's actually coming down to. Like, what could be so bad that it just wipes out all of us? Besides our own doing, of course, like global warming.
Like a solar flare or something.
Yeah, I'd probably just try and gather around with all the important people that I could get in my life together in one place, and then just sit down and just have a conversation, just talk about everything openly, because it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah,
you're all going to be dead soon, so you can just talk not so much honestly about, I hated you all along and stuff like that, obviously, because that'd be great. Although if you did do that, then you wouldn't really mind like the death coming to you, I guess. So there are swings and roundabouts, but it'd just be a case of just getting together, and not even just really talking about anything that's really like important or earth-shattering, just having a conversation with the people that you care about one last time.
Yeah, because it'd be good to, and this is also the type of thing that like sometimes it's good to apply to your life as it is. Like, if the world was ending, what would you do? Well, why don't you start to try to do it? Like, if there is something that you've wanted to tell somebody, you know, maybe you want to say to them, like, even if it's like something stupid, like you know, I could look at pretty much anybody that's been in my life, and I can tell them something I'm sure that meant a lot to me that they did that they don't even know meant anything at all to me, that they just are like, oh, I don't even remember doing that or something. And sometimes that could be like a big game changer for that person if you tell them. So a bunch of years ago, I went through Facebook. I did this for like 5 years in a row or so. I haven't done it in a while because I just like haven't had the time, but I went through and I did something called Random Ego Boost Day, where I was just like, hey, I'm just going to message a bunch of different people and tell them things like, hey, you know, we haven't talked in a while, but by the way, like, I've been seeing that you've been making these changes in your life, and that's really cool. And do you remember this time that we did this and we hung out and that happened? Like, I still remember that, and that's a lot of fun and whatever like that. And a lot of the times when I've done that, people have been like, wow, you have no idea how much this meant to me. And sometimes if you haven't said that to somebody, it could be a big deal if you say it. So say it while you can until that solar flare comes and kills us all. Oh, and I think we could all agree you'd eat the fuck out of stuff, right?
Hell yeah.
Like, that would just be like, all right, just give me that twice baked potato with all the fucking butter on it. Give me the chocolate with the chocolate on top and whatever, and feed it to Callum.
Yeah. You wouldn't have to wait until the death came to that point.
You'd eat so many of those pastry things that you were talking about.
Oh yeah, definitely.
What were they called again?
Belgian buns.
Belgian buns. Yeah.
Yeah.
They would just be like, nom, 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 nom. Imagine like that last meal thing. Be like, what would you get for that? We've answered that question before. We're not going to go down that whole thing, but food, definitely part of it.
The amount of cheesecake. That would be a part of my end of the world meal.
If you had to change your first name, what would you change it to? I wouldn't. I'm way too invested in being Anthony/Tony.
Epica.
It's so bait. Robert
Did
is
you
such
say
a
Epico?
wait. What?
Yeah, because no, I wouldn't. No, I just like throwing some sort of reference to the colognes into here at any point in time.
Epico Wiggins.
I've never been the closest connection to Callum. It's why I usually get people to, like, in my inner circle, to call me by my surname instead, wherever I could possibly do it instead. So maybe something along the lines of, maybe just something that's more traditional, like a David or a James or something like that.
You totally strike me as a David.
We can swap. Robert is so common that it's painful. Like, I wouldn't mind something with just a little more uniqueness to it. But if I'm being honest, if I had the choice to change my name, I don't know if I'd change the Robert as much as I would the DeFelice. The amount of like,
would you change it to DeFelice?
well, no, because that's just changing the pronunciation. Or maybe I would perfectly phonetically spell DeFelice. But I think that name. Let me put it this way: I dated somebody for 7 years, and she fucking never got the name right.
It's not that hard.
The last package, that gift that I had from her, the name is so misspelled it's comical. So I would likely change the DeFelice before I changed Robert, and it'd be something simple and easy to spell, like Smith.
Robert Smith.
Yeah.
Then you're like
Then you're really
doubling
basic.
down on the
Then
generic.
you're really like, I can just blend into any, circle of people anywhere. Robert Smith.
You'd never get that Twitter account.
Never. I still didn't get Robert DeFelice. And
Yeah, that's true.
last 2 times I've said my last name, I've had to stop myself from saying DeFelice. Because I've gotten so used to that.
Can you be Mark DeFelice instead?
Yeah, there you go.
If given my job, if my name was Mark, I'd run with that everywhere, just because it's so easy when you're a wrestling fan.
Can't lie and say that I haven't thought about the idea of just pretending to be Mark and have the Mark Out moment. Just be like, Mark Out moment with Mark, but
Mark
Nah.
Mango.
Mark Mango. Yeah, I don't like the alliteration type thing.
I love alliteration.
Peter Parker, Reed Richards.
Wally
How
West.
pumped are you for Stranger Things season 3? Have you seen the final trailer? What do you want to happen? Do you think this is the last season? Can you do an episode rundown for fanboys or a podcast review of the season? Really quickly, this is not the last season. I think that they had said that they wanted to do a 5-season thing, and I'm assuming that they're probably going to be, renewed. What do I want to see happen? I don't really know. I'm kind of just letting them do whatever they want to do because I really liked season 1 and 2, so definitely pumped. And I don't know what I'm going to do for fanboys. I might just watch the show and not actually try to make work out of it, but I might do something like after I watch the whole thing, which I don't even know when I'm going to watch the whole thing. But yeah, big fan of Stranger Things. Is that a
I've
show that
heard
you guys
the
watch?
season is really good,
Yeah?
and I'm gonna try my hardest to go back and watch the whole thing before I get into season 3, which I want to just knock out of the way right away because there's so much wrestling going on that I might not even get the chance. And yeah, I love this show and very much looking forward to watching season 3. And side note, I really want to get the new Coke flavor.
I've never seen Stranger Things, so
Yeah.
I can't comment on it.
It's not the show that I think everybody would like, but I think it's got enough crossover appeal that a lot of people would like it
Well,
if
put
they
it this
haven't
way,
seen it.
if it's a show, I probably haven't seen it. So that's basically just the fair rule to take.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. It looks like it looks good. It's the type of thing that like anything can look good. I mean, every season of every Netflix show, they tend to have pretty good trailers and stuff. So I just have to go based off of season 1 and season 2 and say I really like those. So there's no reason for me not to believe in that. But then again, I thought Westworld season 2 was going to be better than the first one, and it wasn't. So who knows? Definitely excited for that though. Last one from Frankie. Would you be cool with Drake Maverick being 205 Live champion? I haven't really seen him work, but I wouldn't mind. Maybe.
At this point, even in his TNA days, I'm so far removed from seeing him as a exciting in-ring competitor because he just plays the weasel so well. He's almost the antithesis of Leo Rush. Leo Rush had an opportunity to play the weasel really well and couldn't do it because he just wanted to be in the spotlight. Drake Maverick was okay in the ring, was, maybe even good, but he understood that he has a great sense of comedic timing and does not take himself seriously whatsoever and has landed on a gold mine.
I kind of prefer him being in the 24/7 title scene because that's already been considered a bit more of like a jokey comedy title. I'd rather the Cruiserweight title was not that he can't go in the ring, because he certainly can, but the way that he's been portrayed in WWE means that it would take a lot of time for him to be built up to be an actual competitor. It'd be like getting so holding the title again.
It was only earlier this year that he was peeing on people, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, I think it was last year.
Oh yeah, towards the back end of last year, he was peeing on Bobby Roode's robe.
That's fantastic. Pedro, see, why hasn't he done the bathroom humor with the 24/7 title?
I'm sure they're getting to it.
He's going to do that bathroom pin.
Side note, you ever look at Otis? I think I was watching Stomping Grounds again, and I saw Otis, and just the way he walks at his face, and I went, in terms of comedy, this is Vince McMahon's wet dream. This guy just looks like such a character. Amazing.
Hey, Tucker.
Tucker! So proud of you, Ricky. Love you.
When Thanksgiving comes around, I know at some point when people are saying turkey, I'm just going to be like, turkey. Let's go to Declan's questions. He says, dawned on me the other day that I've been listening to you guys for over 5 years, and he gives a breakdown for that. I have it on my own site. We're already an hour and a half into this. I don't want to read the whole thing like that, but that's awesome that he's been listening for that long. So he says, so finally getting into the question, do you have any wrestling merchandise that brings back any specific memories? Not really. Like I don't really have a whole lot of merchandise. I mean, like I've got like right above my head right now, I've got on a little shelf a bunch of different Funko Pops and stuff that I've gotten from like the unboxing videos that I've done for Fanboys Anonymous. And I got a little Randy Savage, so it's like, I remember like unboxing that and getting the Randy Savage. But the only really thing I could think of off the top of my head is I got a Hulkamania shirt, and of course it happened like right before that whole scandal. And I wore that to the 2015 Royal Rumble. So if you watch like that video of me at the 2015 Royal Rumble, like I'm wearing that shirt, and anytime that I see that shirt in my drawer and I wear that, it's like 2015 Royal Rumble. That's really it for me. Like I'm kind of bland when it comes to that. You guys, I'm sure, have a lot more to say.
Nothing specific really. I mean, I have a load of wrestling figures that I used to play with pretty religiously when I was a kid, and I still have them like stored in my wardrobe somewhere. I don't typically bring them out, but occasionally it's just nice to look at them to see how they are. I think I used to have this styrofoam Undisputed Championship that I would. It's essentially like a really crappy version of today's replica titles, and so me and my brother and some of his friends, some of my friends, would usually have just wrestling matches in the living room and battle for that belt and stuff like that. But no majorly specific memories with any one piece of, because merchandise is such a big like span of things. Like, do you think does a DVD or a video count as merchandise? I guess it kind of does.
I would say so.
So I remember watching, I think the first, I mean, I watched like plenty of stuff. Like I remember the first DVD I ever got was Survivor Series 2002. And I remember getting that because we had this like one of those really awful DVD players they used to have in the past. Just like I think at one point very early on, it was like it got pretty stuck in the DVD drawer, so we had to just like try and wedge it out, and eventually got it out of it and had to get another player. But yeah, it was good to go back and just watch those ones back in the day. It's part of the issue with like the WWE Network is that now you can watch all of that stuff pretty easily, but you kind of don't want to get rid of all the DVDs because they had special features and you don't get those on the network.
I would agree with that. I used to love watching things like the Bret Hart DVD and all the little Easter eggs and the matches. People, now everybody has the network, so you don't understand. It used to be a time where, like, the Road Warriors DVD got me into the NWA because I'd never seen that style of wrestling before. So stuff like that is always cool. Unfortunately, in the amount of moving I've done, I've lost all the DVDs. In terms of any memorabilia that I have that strikes emotion, there's the CM Punk shirt I have that my dad got me that was like totally spontaneous that I keep, even though it's that awful yellow t-shirt. It's gonna stay with me forever. And I now go out and get merchandise that I have always wanted from when I was a kid. Like I bought a t-shirt from the In Your House triple header with Shawn, Diesel, Owen, and Yoko. I have that shirt now because I used to watch those shows so much as a kid that I would always want something like that. So now I have that. I have like a Diesel Power water bottle. So I've just graduated to getting these really nostalgic things that I was never able to get as a child.
That makes sense. I still really want to get a custom-made championship.
Yeah, I'm going to do that one day.
Second question. That's what we're on here for Declan, yeah. Oh, look at that. He's labeling it as my second question. It's perfect. My second question is, if there's an NXT Hall of Fame, who do you think, based on their accolades in NXT, would be first ballot Hall of Fame pick, second ballot Hall of Fame picks, who just makes the cut in your opinion, who just misses out? It's a big breakdown that we could do for like a special feature at some point, but I would just say in general, most people probably wouldn't make the cut if you look at like the list of people, because you got to remember there's a lot of people that came in and they just didn't really do anything, like a Bold MC, you know? But I would assume some guarantees would be Gargano, Asuka, Adam Cole, Bayley, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, Charlotte Flair, like just the standard kind of ones, you know?
Johnny was the first name that popped into my head. Then I also thought Seth being the first NXT champion. And just for chuckles, why not Daniel Bryan as like the standout of the first NXT season?
If we're going back to that NXT, yeah, wow.
I would say if you were given like, let's say a typical Hall of Fame class would have about 6 or 7 people. So if you had to say like 7 people, and these are all first ballot ones, I'd probably go Gargano, the Undisputed Era as a collective, Asuka, Bayley. I would say you'd put Sami Zayn as well in the like original ones. Then I'd also put Finn Balor because he's one of the longest reign. I think he is the longest reigning champion, so I think it makes sense to put him in. And then the final one, William Regal.
Well, Regal's a good option. Triple H, to me, would need to be the first name in just because he created NXT, but he'll probably have that Vince complex of like, I won't go in until I'm dead. So
he's already in the Hall of Fame, so
well,
he doesn't need to be in the NXT Hall of Fame.
This is specifically an NXT Hall of Fame. The WWE Hall of Fame doesn't carry over.
Also, if you are the creator of it, you shouldn't be the first person to put yourself in because it makes you look bad. You shouldn't go in until someone like says that. Well, someone puts you in essentially.
If this was a separate from WWE thing, it would have to be Dusty.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
And you also there's lots of people behind the scenes. Like you put Regal in, you'd probably end up putting like Sarah Amato in. Matt Bloom would go in at some point.
Yeah.
But the WWE Hall of Fame started with Andre, so who would be that, like, the one? Or we have to
Gargano.
start this Hall of Fame. Yeah,
It would have to be Gargano because
Yeah.
he's the epitome of what NXT is all about.
And if it had to be someone who was like there from the start, maybe Tyler Breeze.
I could see that.
Maybe good old Lucky Cannon.
Fucking Mr. Steal Your Girl, like,
Eli Cottonwood, one of those.
Oh yeah, this whole thing is just the mustache speech.
He doesn't have one though,
No.
even though his is the best. So stupid. Last one from Declan. Anything from E3 that got you excited? Nope. Total opposite. That Avengers game looks weak. No Arkham announcement or Superman game or anything.
see, there were several things that got me really excited. First of all, Keanu Reeves was amazing and
I think
breathtaking.
breathtaking, yeah.
And yeah, he's great. But I'm excited about all the Nintendo stuff, like Daemon X Machina is coming out in September. The Marvel Ultimate Alliance game is coming out in like 2 weeks, so that's exciting. Above all else, though, they're finally releasing Phantasy Star Online 2. And for context, the first game was released on Dreamcast 20 years ago and on GameCube maybe 17. So I'm very ready for this game.
I don't think there was anything in particular that really stood out to me apart from just seeing Keanu Reeves there and being like such a big deal out of it. Yeah, I can't remember anything like absolutely capturing my attention saying, okay, I definitely need to have this game. I guess I mean, they weren't really announced, but it starts to become more in the mindset that, okay, the new series of gaming consoles is coming pretty soon and I'm still not ready for it.
Oh, yeah. How do you guys feel about Stadia while we're here?
I don't really think about it.
You guys, you're just not even slightly interested in the Google Stadia?
I don't even know what that is.
Well, it's Google's own gaming console.
But it's going to be 100% streaming. I'm interested. I also think it can flop really hard, like a Google Plus, but I'm interested.
I mean, I'll wait and see with that one. It's just I can't help but think about like new gaming innovations and just in my mind just constantly going back to, wow, the what was that virtual reality type thing they were trying to do for a while? I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it was just like
not the Oculus, but the Ouya.
Oh yeah, well both those really, the Oculus Rift and the Ouya thing. Yeah, it's just like I always just go back to those ones. But if it's not made by Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo, then I kind of just write it off out of the gate at this point.
Do you think Sega would ever want to get into the console market again?
I don't know if they could, even if they wanted to.
Fair.
They don't have Sonic anymore, so they can't. That basically
that is true.
Yes, it's basically pretty dead in the water. But other than that, I think E3 was a bit more it felt like a lot of people just trying to be entertaining more than actually trying to, get games out there that would interest people.
Well, we can all agree this is a filler year, right? And next year's going to like blow everybody away because it's going to be console announcement after console announcement after console announcement.
You'd hope so. I'm not too interested in like all the mobile games that they said are available now.
E3, that was when they announced the thing about Pokemon Sword and Shield not having the national decks, right? Or was that a different thing?
That might have
think it
been
was
the
before
Pokemon Treehouse a couple days before.
Ah, okay. Because that, major thumbs down on that one.
I like it just because I get annoyed when if there's like 700 to 800 Pokemon, it's just a case of, okay, so I'm going to be on this for years, essentially, trying to capture everything. I'd rather just have its own contained universe. That's why I don't really go any further than... I only recently started playing games which went beyond the second generation. Because it's just like, there's too many things. It's just too many. Just stick with a couple hundred. That's good for me. If I want to capture
I look at it
Pokemon, I'll go
as
for other games.
I look at that as like, you should have the option.
Maybe,
but if you want to like I like that they did like the decks where it's just sort of like here's the stuff in this region. If you want to catch them all, you can catch them all. But then if you want to send over your, I don't know, your war turtle or whatever, then you can. That they don't have the option is kind of shitty of them, I think.
Well, I think their excuse, right, is the fact that it will take a long time to create avatars of all the different generations of Pokemon for the Switch, because the only ones they have available to them at the moment are the ones they used for Let's Play Pokemon Go, like Eevee and Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu.
That's a plan ahead. Like, hire some more people, do the job, you know?
I'm excited. I like everything going on with the Switch. I think I'm gravitating more towards Switch and PC than I am even my PS4. And they really nailed it with the Switch. And after a few bad years with Nintendo, I'm glad to see them back on top.
What's the next Xbox supposed to be called? Because the current one's the Xbox One still, right?
Right now, it's just called, it's got the project name of Project Scorpion. So I'm sure
So
they'll
it's
name
definitely
it
not
like,
going to be that.
it'll be like
Yeah.
the Xbox.
Sting.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one, actually. Xbox Sting. That's cool.
Do they have anything that would get in the way of calling it the Xbox Plus?
I hope so.
Because
Fuck the
everybody's
plus.
thing, yeah, Plus is fucking everywhere nowadays.
Well, I think they would save that for the bigger version of the console they previously released 6 months ago. Just like, oh yeah, we had just released this, but now you can get the Xbox, I don't know, 6 Plus instead,
Yeah.
and then you get the Ultra version as well. You just keep going down those ones until they decide, we decided to make another console instead. So all the super extra expansions and all the other stuff you bought are now worthless, pretty much.
Are they about 20 years in yet? Because I can see them doing something with like the Roman numeral for 20 and Xbox. Like, it's the Xbox with 2 X's at the end because it's fucking 20 years.
Or can they just do the double Xbox then?
They
Just
could.
go X Xbox.
And then eventually they have the triple Xbox, and everybody's like, I don't want to buy this porn machine.
It's a porn machine.
Yeah, maybe something along those lines, though. Well, at this point, shouldn't it graduate from a box? Shouldn't it be like, we got Nintendo and the GameCube? Shouldn't it be like the X Cube at this point? Or the X Sphere? The X Pyramid? Whatever.
It'd be weird to have a pyramid-shaped console.
Would that be the point, though? To just,
Because different is always better.
Yeah, there you go. That's how you get around it.
It's true.
Let's go to Marco's questions. I hate that I don't have a fucking answer for this one. What wrestling move, in your opinion, doesn't match its name? I cannot think of an answer for that, and I really hate that I don't have an answer because I love this question.
I went with the lowdown because to perform it, you have to be up high.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
But then I thought he's D low and he's going down, and it's just like maybe it kind of worked. I had a few like ideas based around those sort of. I don't like moves with the word either last or final in them, because if they don't finish the match, then they're just stupid.
Funny that you say that, because the last shot knee popped in my head.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, oh, this last shot. Oh, he kicked out. Oh, I guess it wasn't then. It's like, let's move on.
Oh, the Shining Wizard.
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah. Why is that a thing?
I was there are a lot of names like that. I mean, what really is the like the execution or something along those lines? Or
at least it has edge puns in them.
The Claymore, like Claymore is like a mine.
No, it's a Scottish sword.
Oh, they changed it to that now?
No, that's what
Claymore is. Yeah. It's not. It's also the name of a trip mine as well in Call of Duty and stuff like that. But its origins are as a Scottish sword, a broadsword.
Oh, okay, so never mind then. I'm thinking of just the explosion. So that makes more sense then.
Yeah,
the WMD because like it's just a punch, bro.
We're just talking about like. No, I love the guy, but like, why is Rainmaker a clothesline? Surely a Rainmaker is a thing where you stand around the wrestler and just throw money in his direction. Just like making it rain. Yeah, just make him dance forever. There are some. I tried to avoid those ones because just like that's just their silly name for something. It doesn't say what the move does, but it's just like I wanted to go saying like the lowdown just because it's just the complete opposite of what you expect it to be.
Yeah, I'm like basic names. Like, I mean, we all call it a DDT now, but that's only because of Jake Roberts. And without knowing that that's because of Jake Roberts, and if you were to just say that's a DDT and be like, why is it, what's DDT stand for? Oh, it's like a snake venom thing. They'd be like, well, why is it, huh?
And then you get into like, what does DDT stand for? Oh, it's Damien's dinner time. Why? Oh, because this guy had a snake named Damien. It's, yeah.
And people are like, so Tornado, Damien's dinner time? Like,
But it's just like I had one in my head just a second ago. It's probably gonna like disappear now, but why do I think of something and open my mouth when it's just like it just dies dies away as soon as I start talking?
something very generic, like body slam types or something like that. Like, I mean, that makes sense because it's you're slamming a body, but
I was thinking like the zigzag because he takes the guy straight down. There's no zigzag in it.
I've always fucking hated that name, and to be honest, when he first did that, I always thought the move was stupid. I'm like, wait, you're just jumping and pulling them to the ground. Why is this the end of the match? It's always one of those moves that never sat right with me.
A name that I always hated. I mean, this probably doesn't like completely fit the question, but it's just the idea of like the stroke from Jeff Jarrett. Because the reason why it was called the stroke is nothing to do with the actual move itself. It's because he has the stroke backstage.
Yep. Because this was the Vince Russo era where everything was real.
I did like that they used to call things the atomic such and such.
Like
it's not a leg drop, it's an atomic leg drop. It's not an elbow drop, it's an atomic elbow drop. Like,
I think the best name ever is the Tombstone, though, right? Like, here's the Undertaker. He does the Tombstone pile driver, and it's because he's driving you right on your head. It's the Tombstone.
There's a lot of names that like make perfect sense, just as basic as it can be. Like headlock, you take their head, you lock it in. Like, makes perfect sense.
You guys aren't fond of the name Bro Mission, right?
I don't.
Nah.
I mean, it's not exactly intelligent to do it like that, but yeah, I'm not going to be too offended by it. But at least it's what it says on the tin. It's a bro putting you in a submission hold.
That's true.
I don't like when people have a nickname and they call themselves the same thing that they call their move. Like, I don't like how they refer to Andrade as El Idolo and his finisher is El Idolo.
Well, nothing was worse than he's the Brian Kendrick and his finisher is the Kendrick.
Like, yeah, that's just that type of shit's annoying to me. At least sliced bread number 2 makes more sense to me.
Also,
like the greatest thing since sliced bread, you know.
Also, what the hell is a moss covered family free-handed Gadundle, whatever it is? That's Perry Saturn's move.
I always remember that name. That name is a take on the fucking Jericho promo. Where...
Oh yeah, because he says it. Yeah, because he says it in part of the list of like the 1,004 holds that he.
And the video game makers just gave Perry Saturn the drift away and gave it that name, but he never called it that. It's just that was kind of the creative license of video game developers back then.
Also, just it's just maybe a final one. Why is the sharpshooter called the sharpshooter?
Because he's the hitman.
The hitman, yeah.
I guess that kind of makes sense then. I always thought that if I was to try and like extrapolate it, is the idea of like you're tying their legs up and so it makes it look like they're in like a crosshairs almost.
Because it's supposed to be called the Scorpion, is it not? The Scorpion is the official name for it.
Well, it's the Scorpion Deathlock, yeah. For when Sting was applied it, because I think Sting had it before Bret Hart did.
For what it's worth, though, Bret did it so much better.
If you could go back in time and change things, I think it would be a lot. I always said that Bret Hart should have had a pinfall finisher, and sharpshooter to me sounds like it should be more of like a strike of some kind. So if I could like go back and change history and do all this and influence things and stuff, I think it'd be kind of cool if it was like the sharpshooter was a pinfall finisher and the sharpshooter that we have now, that submission, was called the crosshairs. I think that'd be kind of cool. He's got him locked in the crosshairs, like, you know.
I love that.
Yeah, he fucked up.
Well, we're going back in time, boys.
But I do love Heart Attack.
Yeah,
Like,
great
that
name.
makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Another question from Marco. Thoughts on having Roman Reigns come out with German Shepherds or Pit Bulls? Michael Call saying, here comes the big dogs with his big dogs is only a positive. I say change his move to a finisher of a bulldog.
It's the
Bulldog. There you go. Why is that called a bulldog?
Huh. I don't know.
That makes no sense. Yeah, there you go. Bulldog. That's a great one. That doesn't fit. And have Roman Reigns, his theme is done by Snoop Dogg. And
he comes to the ring eating hot dogs.
Yeah, why not? You know.
And I'm trying to think of just any. He either comes out to a theme from Snoop Dogg or he comes out to Who Let the Dogs Out.
Does this make his signature match the Kennel from Hell?
There you go.
And he comes to the ring wearing hush puppies.
Make it so Snoop Dogg does a remix of Who Let the Dogs Out. Just double it up with it.
I'm surprised he hasn't done that anyway.
And then they can bring back the pay-per-view Beware of Dog.
So I only want to see Roman Reigns with dogs now.
It's the issue with the fact that every wrestler that had dog in their name is dead, like Drunkyard Dog or the British Bulldog, and so you can't have him like be their manager or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know if there are any other dogs on the independent scene that could come in and do that.
Sorry, dog.
It's a no from me, dog. Road Dog can help be his manager.
Oh, there we go, Road Dog. Of course.
Segments or lines where you hypothetically spit your drink. Mine is the Shane celebration episode where Drew said Shane McMahon is best in the world. The only example I could think of was Jonathan Coachman about 2 years ago, I think, had said in all earnesty, Roman Reigns is beloved by the sports entertainment community. I remember just being like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. You know? Just flat out lie.
I mean, I got pretty close with that nepotism line from Fyter Fest.
So there was one instance with Kalisto and Kurt Angle where they were trying to still build Kalisto as a singles, and Braun Strowman threw him in a dumpster. So the next week, he's backstage with Kurt Angle, who is completely goofy in the GM role, and goes, Kurt, you don't understand what it's like to be thrown in the dumpster. And Kurt just goes, no, I can't say I do. And for whatever reason, him just increasingly shitting on Kalisto is still the funniest thing in the world to me. Like, you can't even give him this. You just, no, I can't say I know anything about being treated like shit. Sorry, bud.
Kurt Angle's great for those sort of things. I think if I was to go back to one of those ones which maybe would have given me a spit take, the Kurt Angle rap against John Cena. Probably just the like the final line from it, 'cause there's something like, I may suck, but you just blow. It's just like, that's so just a dad rappy. But it's just like so hilarious when you just watch it.
Kurt Angle is very good at like dad humor.
I liked. I mean, this probably shouldn't be one where you take a spit take, but it's like when they came out I think it was in December, just the whole McMahon family saying like, "Oh, we're giving Raw back to your hands. Like WWE now belongs to you guys, the fans now." Just like, because I know better, and it's proven to be correct.
I think the one that still irks me is whenever they use the term sports entertainment. Like, I know Michael Cole did it on an episode of Raw, or maybe he was even stomping around how Ricochet's worked so hard in the sports entertainment industry, and the best, which will always stand out in my mind, sports entertainment enthusiasts in Allentown. Like, what? You can't say pro wrestling in 2019? Really? You haven't gotten there yet?
Shit, can't even say fan if you say enthusiast.
Yeah.
Like, you'd subscribe to the magazine Sports Entertainment Enthusiast Aficionados or something.
You know what that made me feel like? You know how for SEO, we have to hit a certain word count.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, how the fuck am I gonna stretch this out? Sports
Yeah.
entertainment enthusiasts.
Like a wrestling fan doesn't have enough characters.
Yeah, exactly.
I would just like to hope they refer to like the WWE Network as their sports entertainment streaming service for sports entertainment subscribers.
Our over-the-top network for sports entertainment enthusiasts.
Then the other like people in different areas are just kind of like the watch thing. Let's go to Michael Patrick here. The last 3 questions that we have. Would you ever want to do other tournaments in the future, like sexiest belts, aesthetically speaking, LOL, or best entrance music? That's where Smark Madness comes into play. That's where we do like the kind of oddball types of things. You know, Champs Giving is going to be the next tournament after we get through the Sexiest Superstars tournament, and that's if I decide to do it, because last year was a fucking mess when it came to that. But that's why we would do something like, you know, who the best women's champion is of all time or something like that. But when we get back around to Smark Madness, that's when we could do, you know, the best pay-per-view names or, you know, whatever the case may be. So it would be kind of funny, though, to instead of labeling it like the best championship designs, label it the sexiest belts, because that would just be kind of funny. Somebody being like, I don't know. I mean, I like the winged eagle, but
that big gold. Is there anything more sexual than that big gold?
And Callum's just like, the 24/7 championship is green and gold.
So you that clearly.
That's great. It's just it's the color scheme is fantastic. I just wish it didn't have a giant 24 and a 7.
We were doing 2001 the other day and talking about Nydia and how they used to hire women, and I thought it might be fun to go and do like a sexy superstars, but it's specifically for like a year. We pick any year, and it's like who would have won this tournament if the sexy superstars tournament existed in like 99? Would Stone Cold Steve Austin have been voted the sexiest male, you know?
Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting.
Retro sexy. It's just probably has to come up with a better name than that. But you know, it's just the idea of maybe just to do some like old fashioned ones. I would have thought if we could do some funny ones like the sexiest belt idea is good, the best entrance music. Maybe I'm quite interested in doing one where it's placed around like who does the best like talk show segment, because there's just too many of those nowadays.
That would be fun.
Kevin Owens show, the Peep Show, Carlitos Cabana. There's
Highlight Reel, Piper's Pit, the like
Moment of Bliss.
Yeah, the
Everest Asylum,
the Abraham Washington show. Remember that? Anybody?
What was the
I
one
like
that
Abraham Washington?
What was the one that Miz and Morrison had?
The Dirt Sheet. Oh,
yeah, I love the Dirt Sheet.
That was so good.
Yeah, so I'm sure there'll be plenty to choose from.
Yeah, we got lots of different things when it comes to Smark Madness. So, when spring comes around and we're starting to try to figure out what tournament to do, then toss out as many ideas as you can. Usually, I put that up on the Mega Maniacs on Facebook, and then people can kind of vote on some different options and stuff, and see what happens with that.
I think it's cute that Tony thinks we're gonna have time in the spring to do anything that isn't wrestling events.
We'll see. I guess that's true. Although that could be the type of thing, like, eventually in the future, and I thought about even doing this when it came to the Sexy Superstars tournament this year, it's easier to do the posts than the podcasts. Because, keep in mind, everybody, when we're doing the podcast, I have to make a graphic for each thing. I have to make a thumbnail for everything. I have to make the YouTube description for everything. I have to record the podcast. We have to make sure that we have our schedules are lined up. Not only does it record the podcast, like, we're 2 hours into this recording. This is 2 hours of our time. And then I have to edit it, and then I have to upload it. So that's why, like, I think that Fyter Fest didn't even get uploaded until, like, 3 in the morning. And we had started that at, like, 11 o'clock. That's how long it takes for those things.
I'd be okay with you doing just postings if, like, Caroline wasn't so funny, and it's so much funnier to do the podcast for the Sexy Superstars tournament.
That's why we're not going to have podcasts based off of, like, the Champs Giving and Smark Madness and stuff, because it's just too hard to factor in, but we'll see. 2 more questions here from Michael. Let's pretend and hope that in the near future they end the brand split and merge the tag titles and the main titles, WWE with Universal, Raw Women's with SmackDown Women's. Would you like to see a mid-card title for the women's division? Yes. I think if they merge the brands. At this point, we have enough women on the roster, assuming that they don't just release a bunch of people, there's no mass exodus or anything. You should have a women's world champion, a women's mid-card champion. I don't know what they would call it, but that's another thing. And a women's tag team championship.
See, I'm going to disagree because they've done shit with the women's tag titles, and I don't want to see any more women just underutilized.
This isn't a no more brand split type thing, though. I
So
think that
if,
they would do a
if
lot
you're
better
saying
that way.
like we don't have the Raw and SmackDown women's titles, so then yeah, give them a secondary belt. And I know it's such an unpopular term, but you could have always kept a Divas title. It's just that that word has so many negative connotations for wrestling fans.
I think
don't know what they would call it. That's the thing.
you'd figure out some sort of day, even if it was just like if you merged the Intercontinental and the United States Championship together, you just make one of them a women's title. Instead,
The Women's North American Championship.
It shouldn't just say the phrase "women's" in it. Why does it need to say the phrase "women's" in it? You could just say you have a men's world champion and a women's world champion, and then you have the men have the United States Championship and the women have the Intercontinental Championship.
That's true. You could always do that.
It doesn't need to have a gender associated. Obviously, it would be gender associated in terms of who can compete for it, but it doesn't need to have women's Intercontinental Championship in it because you don't need to have the word "women's" in it necessarily.
No, I'd rather them give a different name. Have it be like the WWE Women's Championship, the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship, the WWE blank Championship for the mid-card. Like, not saying that they should go with this one, but I always default to, like, they could always do the whole, like, Hear Me Roar and make it like, WWE Roar is the name of their separate women's only brand or whatever. Like, but if you went with that, you shouldn't call it like the WWE Roar Championship, like just give it its own thing, not the Women's Intercontinental.
Please don't call anything the Roar Championship. Thank you.
Please do not. It's not good.
No, I would just hope that whatever the name would be, it would be an indication of what you have to do to get that title. That's one of my biggest issues with the championships nowadays. It's not how many there are, it's just the case that none of them. The only one that has anything real specific about them in terms of how you get them is the 24/7 title. The fact that it's 24/7, you defend it all the time. All the rest of them are just the same belt, just slightly higher or lower on the pecking order. And also, we shouldn't be hoping that the brand split ends because it just means that if the brand split ends, you need to get rid of about half your roster because you're just never going to get anyone else on TV if you're going to do that anyway.
What if Raw and SmackDown become 5-hour shows?
I mean, you can always do that, I suppose. But you probably risk losing even more fans than you already have lost. So,
yeah.
Go ahead and do it.
And our last question here, I don't know why we're ending on this one, but why the hell not? It's just how I plotted it out, I guess. I don't know. Have you tried the s'mores flavored Oreos? I'm assuming Callum is a no.
I love Oreos. I love peanut butter ones, the chocolate filled ones. I have not tried the s'mores. I'm gonna be fully honest, I don't have any intention on trying the s'mores. Marshmallow isn't great. And that's my answer.
Out of every Oreo variation that I've tried so far, none of them compare to the normal ones, including the s'mores. They're good. They're fine. But they're still way too sugary. Every single one of these Oreos that they put out there, the birthday cake ones and stuff, it's just like they added like an extra cup of sugar. And I'm not a fan of that. Too sugary.
I watched like a video recently of like, I can't remember who the YouTuber was, but he was just eating one cookie out of each and every packet of these like gimmick Oreos. It's just like there's like 20 of them. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, just like blows my mind how many different variations you get out of this stuff. It's almost like movies nowadays. Like, come up with something original. Why does everything have to be an Oreo?
I'm looking on the Oreo Wikipedia right now, and it's just pages and pages and pages of like different types of them. And some of these are just like, there's an Android Oreo as a tie-in for the Google Android thing.
So is it just green?
basically.
Do you have
Which
to
is
do you
just
have to download an app to get access to it or something?
I wonder if like you have to prove that you have an Android phone. Yeah, there's birthday cake, there's the thin mint ones, there's the chocolate ones, peanut butter ones, the white chocolate, the red velvet, chocolate peanut butter pie. I don't know, whatever this is, spring Oreo,
It's just green.
yellow. Yeah, it's just yellow cream apparently. The fudge cover. There's carrot cake. There's the like the double stuff and mega stuff and fuck you stuff and whatever. And the golden Oreos, lemon Oreos. It's just like all these are all over the place. And I'm like, can I just have a fucking Oreo? Just a regular goddamn Oreo, which is the best. Yeah, those are the mailbag questions.
All right, and we got through most of the plugs.
Yep.
Right,
So anything else you guys want to toss out for the rest of those? Go right ahead.
I'm at Dude Felice on Twitter and Instagram. Check out Time Killer Apparel. Check out the WrestleZone Daily, which I'm gonna go run and do in about 3 minutes. And yeah, that's it for me, Callum.
Well, I won't drag this out too long then. Then you can follow me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. As Rob said earlier, check out all of the 2001 Wrestling Odyssey stuff. Check out all of the weekly articles on smarkoutmoment.com, including the Power Rankings, which is the one that I most recently wrote. And coming up soon, there will be a competition, or a prediction contest. Can't really say it's a competition, but a prediction contest on the website based around the G1 climax. So stick to the website because I don't know necessarily when that's coming out, but you'll see it on the website when it's there.
And stay tuned for all the other things that are happening this week and the following weeks that go in the future, because that's how future works in time. We've got hot tags. We've got the round 3 of the Sexiest WWE Superstars tournament. We've got the G1 Climax thing. We've got Extreme Rules. We've got Evolve 131. We've got Fight for the Fallen. So many different things happening. You will find that all on smarkoutmoment.com. You will find that on the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, leave your comments, do all the other kind of things we talked about before. Follow us all over the place. Stay tuned. And thank you for listening. This has been another Smark Out Moment. We're being counted out.